I did not expect this lens to be this good. So a few weeks back, I got an email from TTArtisan and they wanted to know if I wanted to check out their new 25mm f2 lens for Fuji. And I said yes, sure, why not? Let's give it a go. But I sort of had a look at how much it cost and I did not have the highest hopes for the quality of this lens. See, this lens costs just 80 Australian dollars or around about, I think it's 50 American, 50 USD. And so obviously I wasn't really expecting a lot, but then it arrived and wow, I was really, really impressed. I mean, this thing is made entirely out of metal. The whole lens is metal. It's got such smooth focusing with a beautiful aperture ring that clicks nicely as well. And yeah, I also couldn't believe how tiny this thing was. I mean, this is a very small lens. Like this is such a small lens. And when you mount it on an X-T5, it becomes such a compact and just really nice and easy to use sort of carry around daily camera, which I was really, really excited to try this lens out, see how it performs. And I tell you what, I did not expect this lens to be this good. I also just wanted to mention as well that while TTArtisan did send me this lens for free for the purposes of this review, they have not paid me for this video. I'm just giving you my thoughts and my opinions on this absolutely tiny little manual focus lens for the Fuji system. Now, obviously there is the Fuji 27mm 2.8 lens, which I would say this probably is the closest comparison you could make. That obviously is an autofocus lens. This is manual focus, but that lens I think at the moment sells for like 400 Australian used and brand new. You can't even find them because they're always sold out. So I think this actually could be a really, really good option for someone that wants a really tiny compact lens and is actually really interested in trying out manual focusing. Because if you saw my last video where I talked about the Voigtlander lens, which costs 10 times more than this one does, I did say about how I thought that manual focusing, especially on a Fuji camera, did actually really, it was just a lot of fun. Like it really brought the fun back into photography. And so I think if you don't want to spend that much money on something like an M-mount lens, this thing for 80 bucks, I mean, I'm honestly really, really impressed. I would say that this lens definitely punches way above its weight class in terms of quality. Although, as I'll discuss later on, the f2 aperture on this lens, it's good, but you should really probably keep this at 2.8 and above. So let's talk about image quality. One of the things that really sort of took me by surprise with this lens was just how great the image quality is. I would say that at f2, the only problem is that f2, it's there's quite a noticeable loss of contrast. But when you stop it down to f2.8 and sort of go above that, the lens really, really opens up. And I think it seriously looks like actually awesome. I'm really, really impressed with the quality of the images. I'll throw some of the photos on screen right now, but at 2.8 onwards, you get a really nice sharp lens. I think 25mm, which in Fuji terms would be equivalent to like a 40mm in full frame. It's a really, really nice focal length for just general sort of walking around everyday sort of photography. And yeah, it really suits the X-T5. I think it actually looks quite nice on the camera as well. And one thing I do really like is that the bokeh actually is really, really impressive. I would say even at like f2, if you just boost the contrast and sort of in post and stuff like that, you can kind of get usable images if you do this wide open. But the bokeh is actually pretty impressive. I don't hate it at all. It's nice and smooth and fairly pleasing to the eye as well. One of the reasons why something like this might be better than the Fuji 27 2.8 is obviously you do get the extra stop of light there. So maybe in a lot more lower light environment, even if at f2 it's not the best, the fact that you have it is still better than not having it. And I think that center sharpness at f2 is still actually pretty good. The other thing as well that's really cool about this lens is it's insanely close focusing distance. Well, maybe not insanely close, but it focuses up to 0.25 meters, so 25 centimeters. And like, that was one of the problems with the Voigtlander that I actually forgot to include in the review. But the fact that that's a rangefinder lens and you can only go 0.7 meters away, it kind of really limits that lens a little bit, I think. That's just the limitations of the rangefinder, but obviously on a mirrorless, when you make a lens designed for mirrorless, you don't have those limitations. So I love that TTArtisan have put a very, very nice 25 centimeter close focusing distance on this lens. Because if you compare it to the Fuji 2.8, it's only 34 centimeters on the Fuji 2.8 close focusing distance. So this even focuses like a good close, like 9 centimeters closer than the Fuji does, which I find really, really awesome. So you can get these really cool shots like this close up of this bug that I found. And I think when you're so close as well at f2, that photo of that bug is taken out wide open as well. When you get really close up, obviously you get actually like a really impressive depth of field because you're so close to your subject at f2. And it always kind of makes it look like it's closer to like a 1.4 or something if you were further away, aperture wise. So I think that's really, really interesting too. Some of the things that I don't love about this lens, for starters, it's the lens cap. I think it's cool that it's made out of metal, but I don't think it's necessary that it needs to be like a screw-on lens cap. I don't know why that was necessary to make it like that. I guess it's to make it look more retro, I suppose, but yeah, a regular pinch cap would have been a lot nicer. I find the lens also has a tendency to vignette pretty heavily as well at wide open, but you can always correct that in post, so I wouldn't really say that's like a massive issue with it. Honestly speaking, for the price that this lens is, I find it very hard to find actually any faults with it. $80 is as much money as I've spent on like lens filters before. I spent more than that on lens filters. So like to get a whole damn lens for that money, it's really impressive. And like I said, you know, at the start of the video, I was not really expecting this to be any good at all. I kind of thought this was just gonna be a crap lens. Like I've seen a lot of the, there are a lot of those like 0.95, like the manual focus ones that I find they're very, very soft and have like really strong chromatic aberrations at like any apertures. But with this lens here, I find that especially once you stop it down from 2.8, the images actually look really damn good. Like I'm so honestly really impressed with them. I mean, is it as good as the Voigtlander? Look, absolutely not. I don't think that it's fair to compare this to the Voigtlander, but it's pretty damn awesome. And I know there's an autofocus brother of this lens. I mean, it's not like really, it's more just like their version of the 27 2.8. And that one's I think $160. It's about 160, I think. Alex Bermenian, who is another really cool photographer on YouTube, he's actually just put out a video on that lens and you should definitely go and check that one out. He made some really awesome photos with that lens, and that's another lens that I would love to try out too. I think it's like the same size as this, it's just got autofocus and it's a 2.8. So who do I think that this lens is for? Well, I think this lens is for anyone that wants to try out manually focusing on a Fuji camera. I think it's for someone that maybe doesn't want to deal with vintage lenses and, you know, stiff focusing rings and adapters and all that kind of stuff, because I know that for this kind of money you could probably buy like some old Pentax SLR lens, but it's not a native Fuji mount lens, so obviously it's going to be quite a lot larger in size. So, you know, just for the sheer size of this thing, I mean, this is such a great little carry around setup now. I can only imagine how amazing this lens would be on an even smaller camera, like the XE4, for example. That would make that like proper pocketable. If you're just looking for maybe a smaller lens, like you've got a bunch of like, you got the kit zoom at the moment, like the 18-55, and you want something that's a little bit smaller, maybe get a little bit more bokeh going at f2, with that close focus distance as well. Yeah, I think that this lens is at $80 Australian, like 50 American. It's very, very hard for me to say anything necessarily too negative about it because it's so cheap that like, it's just, yeah, it's crazy. I think it's like the fact that they can manufacture this for so little money, brand new, and it's as, you know, it's as nice as it is really a testament to how amazing Chinese like manufacturing has become. Because tell you what, like a lens like this from a manufacturer in Japan or like America would probably cost 3 times as much. I don't think you could get it down to this price point. So yeah, it's really, really cool. I would really recommend giving it a go. If you've got a Fuji camera, you got nothing to lose, try it out. If you want to get this lens, I'll have a referral link down in the description as well. I believe TTArtisan is also going to be doing a Black Friday sale coming up very, very soon. Definitely check that out. Also, let me know as well, did you like this new style of video that I'm trying out? Just trying to make things a little more dynamic, changing viewpoints, focal points, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you thought. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe. I've got lots more great photography content coming in the future. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely day. Bye.